All right. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Hope you are doing well. And welcome to the seventh episode of this series, Creating Reports. So, this is the place where it is important we need to create some good visualizations so that the end user can look into that, get the data from that, and also they can take decisions out of it. So far, whatever we have seen in the previous sessions is actually in the point of developer. We are going to develop the thing, model performance, building a DAX query, building the logic, KPIs, and measures and everything. So those things are all not a kind of thing which is visible to the end users. Like if you are building a report for your CEO or any top level executives, then those things, whatever you have done, it's a kind of backstage, behind the scene kind of stuff. So from here onwards, whatever you are going to do, it's the actual output of that. So even though if you have built a beautiful backend, like the data model, the performance, everything work perfectly fine. But if the report itself, the look and feel, the alignment of the visuals itself is not good in that sense, then it is no useful for that. The main agenda, the main objective of the report creation is it can help the business users to take the decisions out of it. That has to be the simple objective of creating a report. All right, so we'll learn about designing a report and also talk about the enhancing report on this session. So first of all, visuals allow you to share data insights more effectively, and effective visualization help your users connect and interact with the information. So that's how it is. And you can look into this one. This is a design a report layout, and from the left report to the right report, you can just imagine the left one looks a little bit cluttered here, so we cannot able to read through it in a sequence manner. On the top, you can see we have the KPIs scattered here and there, and the visuals is also not aligned properly, and also the background color combination, it is not yet clearly visible. Not actually contrast board, so that it can easily visible for our eyes. Whereas on the right side, if you look into this report, it is actually properly aligned. So we have the KPIs on the top, and we also have a slices. And also we have kind of properly aligned visuals. We have a gap between the visuals, and also the background colors and everything, it's uniform. So we can go through in a sequence order. So we need to keep in mind these are the things when you're developing a report on that. All right, and the main also thing is like we need to select the right visuals in order to present our data. So as an example, you can see it on the right side. We have the line chart and area chart. So the line chart actually refers to here the time series. If you're working for a time series report, then you can use either line chart or area chart based on your feasibility. So generally people use the line chart, but the area chart gives more flexibility. Not flexibility in terms of visual appearance, it looks good. So you can also make use of that here. But you cannot use a bar chart in that case if you are working with the time series information, like you want to show from January to December or from 2020 to 2025 kind of year-wise progress if you want to show, then you should not use the bar chart in that case. If you want to visualize a kind of category-wise, like on the left side, you can see we have United States, France, and Germany. So if you want to show these kind of information, either you can show it on a table or matrix, or you can use the bar or column chart in that case to visualize those information. But the line chart is not a tool for that, not a correct graph for that. So we can add a report using the multiple options which we have the default core visuals in Power BI, and we can publish this into Power BI service so that user can also look into that information also. Apart from this existing, what we can see it on the left menu, we have the multiple default visuals. Apart from that, we also have some other tools, visuals, where we can get other inputs on that. Like for example, you can see the bullet chart and word cloud infographic. These are a kind of custom visuals. Some of them are made by Microsoft itself, and some of them made by the third party. And if you see the blue tick mark here, it is actually a certified one. So Microsoft has certified those visuals that it is safe in terms of data privacy things here. So we need to pick only the Microsoft certified one. If you have a policy on an organization, Even I worked on some of the companies where actually they are not even allowing any kind of custom visuals for a report development because they don't trust any third party on that. Even though if it is required, then it has to be certified one, then only they are going to allow to use the custom visuals. The problem with that is if you are developing a report in Power BI Desktop, then you can download it from app source and then build your report in Power BI Desktop. Whereas when you share this report into Power BI service, there they have blocked those information. So they cannot able to view the data from that visual if you have used the custom visuals, which is not allowed in your organizations. That can be handled by your admin. So they have an option in admin settings that they can control the visualization part here. Yeah, next thing here is I'm just going through this theoretically first, and then we'll cover the demo after that. So format and configure visualizations. So that is also important thing. Like here, they are given up here in the column chart where we see the category of United States, Germany, and France with the different sales, and it has a unique color. I mean, the same color here, so we don't need to represent in a different manner because it is actually telling the information about only the sales amount, not any other information. So it can be common color. And also you can see this dollar symbol and .5, which is a 1 digit of decimal point, which is showing up here, and also everything shows up in thousands. So these things are clearly defined, and also we can see the x-axis with the name of the country as well as what it represents. So country, even though we know this is the country itself, but still it is good to keep the x-axis name here. And also on the left hand side, you can see this is a kind of numbers which is going up here, and this is also the sales amount for the y-axis here. So these things are all some basic things which we need to keep in mind while we are developing the visuals here. And we have some basic interaction we'll discuss during our demo here. And yeah, the next thing here is configure conditional formatting. So conditional formatting actually helps in order to grasp the information quickly. We can bring the attention of the viewers to our report here. Because if you are going to present this data without any background formatting in that case, so they need to read through this one by one in order to grasp their attention. But if you give this conditional formatting, like if you want to apply this traffic signal light also, the red, yellow or green color, or also you can just use this gradient color. So highest can be in the dark color and lowest can be in this one. So we can also call this other kind of heat map where we can define the highest can be in a more dark color and the lowest value can be in the light color option. So that actually gives clear attention to the user that okay, this is the highest value and this is why we have a heat map on that. All right, so we can also use the buttons and bookmarks and conditional formatting, like I said, in order to increase the performance of your report, because we cannot bring all the information into one single report. We have an option in Power BI that we can create multiple pages, sheets on the Power BI report, and you can use page navigations in order to navigate between the pages. And also we have a beautiful option about the bookmarks, where it is really helpful in many cases that you want to show or hide some visuals. Then in that case, you can also use a bookmark. Or as you want to keep the state of one visuals, for example, with the predefined selection kind of thing, then you can also use a bookmark in that case. So we can reset the filters for any selection if the user has done. If they want to go back to the default report layout, then in that case, we can use a bookmark between them. All right, so we'll look into this now. So one by one. So let's go back to the initial stage. All right, first of all, it's a kind of report design layout. So this is one which we are working on since last 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, the 6 weeks. So here it is now cluttered the right way, right? So we need to align these visuals and we need to give them a proper thing. So first of all, we need to go on the top. We have a view, and here we have a theme for that. So we need to define a proper theme based on our organization. So not every developer can define any kind of theme based on his selection. So we need to keep in mind 2 things here. One is the company has to adopt a certain theme so that every report can look and feel uniform way. Another thing is we also need to consider the color blindness, because there are a lot of people who are there, we have a color blindness issue. So in that case, we need to select those colors, those they are able to identify the color difference between that. So here you can see Power BI added beautifully the accessible themes, where you can select any of these things, where this will be easy for the color blindness people in order to identify the uniqueness of each and every bar charts here. Because some people, they are not able to identify the difference between few colors. So it will be hard for them to justify and read through the report. So that also we need to keep in mind. So for example, if I use this one accessible title color on this theme, then it's going to apply that theme here, and now you can see it is applied on this. If it doesn't look, then we can also change any color. For example, if I switch it back to City Park, yeah, this looks better. Okay, we can take on this one, or we can also switch to Orchid here. Okay, let's keep this one. So if now if you want to customize further for your based on your company requirement, you have an option about to customize theme here. So you can click on this one, customize theme, and you can pick the color one by one. We can define the hex code or RGB color to define our primary color, second and third color. So based on this color selection itself, you can see the graph which is showing up here. The first and second and third, everything it will pick up based on this selection, what we're defining up here. And this is also an important thing where we can see the sentiment colors. So like I mentioned about the traffic slide. So few companies, they believe, they say that we need a negative to be red color, positive to be yellow, and neutral, sorry, positive to be green, neutral to be yellow kind of thing. So we can change the color accordingly based on that. And here we also have a divergent color if you want to analyze highest to lowest kind of value, like the gradient color which we have seen on the slide. So if you want to apply that also, you can also define those colors here. Okay, so this is purely depends on company to company is here, because I work in a company where the brand actually represent the red color for that. And for example, the Ferrari. I'm not sure about what Ferrari is using, but I'm just taking an example for that. So Ferrari has a red color theme on that. So what they adopted, red is a positive sign for, even though generally red is a negative sign for everyone, but their company purpose, the company has a theme where the red is for in a positive one, and they have defined the gray as a kind of negative thing for that. All right, so we have a kind of advanced option where we can set up the background element, first, secondary colors here. There are a lot of options available where we can predefine the text also and the font size of the general look and feel and the cards and the KPI, how you want to set up here. And for each and every visual, the background colors and everything you can set up here. For now, I don't want to do any changes here. So let's click on apply. So based on that, it's going to apply to your overall visual here. But still, if you want to customize for each and every visual, you can do that. In the theme, we define that the font size has to be 10. But here on this matrix, I have just defined this to be 20 because I customized this only for this matrix. So that's the reason we can see it here in the border in size. So that is also applicable. It's not restricted to that if we set up certain theme, then it has to apply for all the measures, all the visuals. It's not like that. We can customize based on our need here. Okay, so we have gone through this one. So there are certain things which we need to keep in mind as a kind of design layout, which has to be like, there must be a filter pane. Either it can be on the left-hand side or it can be on the top pane. So it depends on the company. Generally, people use on the top or on the left-hand side. I prefer it to be on the left-hand side itself, so that people can just filter everything on the left-hand side, like they are selecting menus on their application or website kind of thing. From there, they can also navigate to the report design here. So this is where we can keep that. So if you want to design that kind of look and feel, we'll build here one by one. So let's delete this slicer here, and let's add a kind of slicers on the page. So I would like to add this sales territory group, which has to be, if you just directly click on the column name, it's going to add up here. By default, this change will affect us. Yeah, okay. By default, it's going to take up any visual. Okay, so now we have an option to change the visual. So we can click on the build a visual from the right side one. And from here, we can turn off this suggested type. And then we can select any of the other slicer or thing here. I just want to use the slicer here. And you can see this is all the core visuals from Power BI itself. And here we have a slicer with the bracket of new, and this is slicer. And for the card also, we have a card new, and we also have a card here. So this is the kind of initial launch of Power BI. They have used that core visuals. And now they have assigned a team in order to develop the core visuals. So they are making a lot of new changes on the core visuals within the Power BI. So we have a lot of flexibility on side to this one. But for now, I just want to use the regular one. This is slicer. Okay, so it is now converted here, and I just want this to be in a drop-down list. So I'm setting this here, slicer setting options, and it has to be a drop-down. So now it is changed here to be drop-down. So if I just select here, I can pick from the value, And how you want the selection? This you want this to be use select all. Generally, people prefer to have this option select all. So it is good to keep the select all itself, so that if they want to select everything with just single click, they can select everything. And also we have option multi-select with the control key. So whenever user want to select, then they have to click control on the keyboard and then click on the mouse in order to select this one. This also may be useful in some scenarios, but for now I just don't want this one. So here you can see if the user wants, then you can just directly click anything here. So it can be uncheck or check within a single click itself. And the next one we have is single select. It means user cannot able to select multiple values. It will convert into a radio button. Then they have to select these a single value every time. So for now, I don't want that to be there. It has to be turned off. So multiple values to be turned off and select all to be there. Yeah. Okay. So we have a slicer here and we can just realign this. So we also have, if you click on this three dot icon, we also have option about search. So we can also keep the search here, because when you user have a huge number of dimension itself, let's say for example, product dimension, where we can have a kind of lakhs in number. So they want to search that, so they can also look for that information here. For example, if I just turn this off and also specific if I search here, then this going to filter me only the specific value here. That's beautiful. So even if it is select all or nothing is selected, both of them represent the same information. So if you select single value, then only it's going to apply the changes. But select all and without any selection, both means it is actually selected one itself. Okay, so let's copy this thing. I have, because I don't want to redo all these kind of changes like the multiple selection and the search option. I don't want to do that. So let's copy and paste here and just realign on the left side. And here, instead of dim group, I just want to use the sales data region. I'm just drag and drop here and then remove this option. Let's go to this one. Yeah, sales data region, and just checking that the search option is available. And also we can see select all, the search is also here. So we can also filter that. Now, the beauty of this Power BI is we can have a cascading slices here. So let's say I'm filtering here in Europe. The next slicer, which is here region, is actually going to filter based on that. So we have a France region and Germany and United Kingdom here. So if you select something other than this, North America, then we are going to load any other details here. That's beautiful. So if I erase something, then it's also erased. So this is also going to in the reverse way. If I select something here, then also it's going to have an impact on this one. Yeah, it's showing only Pacific because we selected here Australia. Cool. So we have these options. So let's use this canvas background and convert this into a little bit dark color. And we can add also an image here, and we can set up a transparency color here. Now this looks gives a little bit dull color in the background, so that we can pop up our visuals here. I generally prefer this to be light gray or any other light colors, so that and background color of each and every visual has to be white color, so that it can have a contrast feeling on that. So here we have a sales editor group. We don't need anymore. You can delete that. And here we have a calendar here. So if we want to replicate the same settings and format what you have done for any other visuals, so same visuals within the family, like slicer and slicer, then in the home tab, we have the option about format painter. If you click on this one and then click on any of these visuals, so just select this one. Usually when you select here and click on format painter, there must be a brush icon. Strange, it's not showing up here. Yeah, generally when you select on anything here, for example, if you click on the brush icon, then my mouse cursor is converted into brush. Yeah, now you can see it is now changing into a brush icon here. But somehow if I click on the slicer and then click on the format painter, yeah, now it is converted here. If I click on this visual, so you see it has added a select all, and also the search is not enabled because it is now listed here. It just gives the changes on that particular part. So on the slicer setting of this one, just convert this into drop down, and let's see if this is turned on. Yeah, this is not turned on. The reason is because this is a numerical value. So the text search is only applicable for the string value, the text value, not for the numerical thing. So let's realign this a little bit. Okay, this is fine, and this is also fine for me. All right, I think this is good. So just realign this to be a little bit bottom of the screen. Yeah, cool. So we have this visual. Let's keep this one KPA on the top, and this one has to be at the bottom here. So this has to be hidden. All right. So let's keep this one on the top of the screen, and then just a little bit increase the size. And we can keep this KPI on the top. This is the card visuals, and let's keep this to be fact internet sales, which is the sales, total sales. Yeah. So we have total sales here. If you want to format this one, then you can also format this here. So let's keep these two for now. And also let's add another visuals here. So it depends purely how you want to design your report look and feel. I'm just doing it here for a testing purpose. But there are other certain things which we need to bring here in the report side, which is when your last data refresh has happened. But that is an important factor I have faced on my experience, which is like Power BI service get refreshed every schedule basis how we are setting up the data. But what if your data, for example, is coming up from Oracle database, and then you're loading this information to an SQL server, with you have a data engineer team, they are working on that. And from SQL server, you are moving this data into Power BI. So you have this kind of process. In that case, the data between SQL server and Power BI is refreshing fine. There is no issue on that. When you look into the Power BI service, then you are able to see that data is refreshing fine. But the real data which has to come from the Oracle or any other API thing is actually not loaded from that thing to the SQL server. In that case, we may not know that SQL server has the latest data available with it or not. So in that case, we need to take a kind of maximum date from the data as well as the last refresh date of the Power BI service. Both of them we have to show it on the top of the screen or somewhere on the screen here. Because the user, those who are looking into the information, they will get to know that, okay, this is refreshed today, this is refreshed last week, and this is a report of the last month kind of thing, so that they can take the decisions out of it. That's the crucial part. And also we need to add help icons and the contact person if they have some issues on the report to whom they need to contact. We also need to consider that. Okay, so we have these visuals, we have these visuals. Let's add another 2 or 3 KPIs here. And also just realign this. Okay, so we have the total order date and ship date. Let's change the font size this to be this little bit big here. Let's change this to 50. Yeah, this is good. And if I add something here on the top, we have a calendar year sales, and this is the total order date ship, and this is the shipment. And if I add a sales territory region, for example, on the column section of this one, then this is going to filter me the data here. So I can see it on the whole page, and just change this here to be by order date. I can also rename it here. It's not going to have an impact on the original measure. It's just only for this particular thing. It's showing up here. As we are showing up here, it's a sales territory region, so it doesn't look nice. So we can add a space here, sales territory, and then region. And here also not the calendar year, it has to be just year. Now we have this information, but we are not sure what actually this represents. So we need to add a title for this. So for this graph, we need to add a title which is on the top. So let's add a title here. This has to be sales, total sales. Sales by region. Just give it a heading here, so that user can easily understand, okay, this is sales by region kind of thing. All right, so we have this many information. As this has gone too many long, so let's remove the ship date for now. And as we have just only one sales, so either it's not showing up any columns here because of the one date available here. That's totally fine. So let's keep this itself and just change the font size to be 10 itself. I think 10 should be good. Okay, or else 12 should be good. All right, this looks good. And we have these 4 visuals on the page, and just realigning this a little bit more. Actually, I prefer this to be on this part, because the left side totally we can keep it for the slicers, and this we can use it for our reporting purpose. All right, this is just an assumption about the thing what we are working on. So the next part on this thing here, we have just realigned, we have just given all this slicer things here. So if you want to analyze something on kind of weekly basis, I mean, we can also use that. So let's also add another visuals, but not required actually. So we have used here as an example the matrix, KPIs, the card visuals, and also we have used the clustered column and bar chart here, line and column chart here. All right, so we don't need to add any custom visuals. If you want, then I will show you how you can do that. So basically, if you click on this one, on the build visual type, we have the three dot option here. So you need to click here, and here we have a get more visuals. So when you click on this one, you need to log into your Power BI account, then only this will open up here. And from this pop-up, we have all visuals, organizational visual. If it is they have allowed some visuals, then it will come up here. Or app from the app store. They have plenty of visuals here. Whatever we have the tick option, then we can use that. The amazing visuals which I have worked in my own experience, this is not any kind of recommendation, is like we can use Power Views, we can use InfoRiver, and we can use actors, which are all things which I have worked on different use cases. And also the recent one, which is Dynab, this has given a kind of multiple flexibility how we can create our own custom visuals based on our need here. We can also use that if we want. And then what we have it here, the formatting of all these things. Like you said, it is also formatted here on the top. We can see the first one showing up here, the total sales. And then it is the sales of previous sales, same period last year. And then sales, the difference of that. And also we have a sales difference here. So now this looks like a bit more cluttered here, right? Yeah, so in that case, if you want to kind of more pleasantly, so we have an option here that, so this is the graph. I just zoom here in order to work on this part. So here on this chart, this is the line and clustered column one. Let me see if I have the option or not. If I expand this option, reference line, we have this one, error was not an issue, marker. So let's open up the columns here. And here, if I select the series here, which has to be same period last year, one. And once I select on this one, I should get another option, which is not showing up here. Let me see what is the version of Power BI which I'm opened up here. So this is December 2023. Okay, so that may be the reason. So it's not available on the recent one. Let me close this one and open up in new version. So I will come to this topic later on. So while this is opening on, so we'll discuss on this one. So meanwhile, we'll show you the other one, which is conditional formatting here. So let's minimize this and we'll talk about this one. Now you see, even though we have presented this matrix one, it is actually good information showing up here. And now, even though this is a value, we don't need to show the 2-digit here. It's unnecessary for me. So we can just select this matrix, and from the top menu, we can just use this to be comma separated one, decimal point to be 0. We can set up like that. So selecting here. This has to be 0. As soon we are changing anything on that formatting, you can also see the changes on the visuals. So it is now converted to 29.4 and it's also showing up 1. If I just given this to be single digit now, I mean 0 digit, so this will be 29 million itself. Yeah. So now for this particular visuals, like it's showing up 29 million. But if I open up this one, the format of particular graph, particular card here, so the display unit is showing up here to be auto here. So we still have an option how we want to represent the data. But here, for example, if you want to still want to show it here in none, this means you want to display everything without any formatting, then it's going to show you this value 29 lakhs, which is showing up 29 million, and 385 and 678. But if you want to use another one, for example, I'm doing it for another card here, like 1000, and you also want to display the decimals in 3 digits, or for example, then you can also have a customized option. You can set this with 3 digit, and you can see it is showing up here value in 3. So let me reduce the value here, this to be 20. Yeah, now you can see this is showing up here 29,358.678. So we don't have any restriction that if we customize directly the measures, we are not able to change anything for a particular visual. But still, we have the flexibility that we can change this on the visual. The reason why we are changing up on the measure is if you are using that measure somewhere else on any other visuals, then the format which is available on the measure is going to apply that onto your visuals. So here on this one, the matrix, I don't need any information here. Even though this is showing up here, Australia, Canada, France kind of thing, but this doesn't look attractive here, right? We're not able to get the correct information from here. So in that case, we have an option about conditional formatting in the matrix. So if I go to the formatting of this matrix and select this to be, I think it has to be order date the series, which is on the specific column. And here we have text and background color. No, not this one. Yeah, we need to open up the cell element here. And here we have a series. Right now, the series only we have order date. If you are adding multiple measures, then this will show up for multiple measures here. So here we have multiple options, which is background color, font color, data bus, icons, and web URL. So if you turn on the background color, then this is going to apply the formatting on this visual. Yeah, you see, it is adding up something here. So now we are able to identify, even though this is not in correct color, but you can see it is showing up dark color on the Australia 2020, maybe it has highest value. But in order to read that information clearly, you can also turn on the font color, but it has to be in a reverse way. Now it is actually applying the same way of color, so that's the reason it is not showing up anything here. So if I open up for the background color, I think background looks good. So let's change this for the font color. So we have FX icon. So click on that, then this will open up a window. So from here, you see it has showing up a lowest to be this color and highest to be this color. So let's copy this one and click on more colors to copy the thing, which is the hex code. And then you can apply the hex code here. So clicking on this one, more colors. So that's strange actually. Both of them are showing up the same hex color. That should not be the case actually. Maybe it's a bug here. But still we can set up here. For the lowest one, I would like to set this to be the dark color. And for the light color, let it be in the white itself. Or you can also adopt something different, which is light gray kind of thing. If I click on OK, and also this is actually the formatting style to be gradient and applies to only values, not the total. And here we have a total save, which is the measure used on this particular thing. And the 0 has to be, we need to set that. And if you need to add any additional middle color, you can also add a middle color and give it a different color for it. Now see it is now changing from this color to this color. But for now, I don't need the middle color and click on OK. This is now applying that. And now we are able to read this information here. But still the background of this color is not good, the font color. So let's go back here and change to a different color. Instead of this, the minimum has to be the dark color, so it should be black, and this can be the white itself. And click on OK. Yeah, this is much readable here. And you can also see this is actually showing up in highlight here, which is the Australia for 2020 has a huge highest number of values sales here. That's why it's showing up here. And also we are able to show this value here. But now you see the totals is not applied here, the colors. So if I go back to the background color, and here we have applies to only values. So let's click on value and totals. And here it is setting up, asking up to set the value here. So here there's a trick here. So here we can type minimum. I guess it should work. Okay, it's not working up here. Then we can manually type a value here. If we are thinking that your value is going to be go below to the 0, then you can just use minus 0, 0, I mean 999 kind of thing. It's not going to have more than value there. Unfortunately, we don't have any option to add a measure here, but there's a different way that we have a rules and field value. From that, we can set up that the field value is there, right? So we can write a custom measure and then we can apply that. But for this case, if you're using gradient, then we need to use this kind of option here. So I'm adding up these values and click on OK. So once I do so, then every graph looks a bit different here. The look and feel is not good. The reason is because of the selection. We have also added this to be on the totals, and it preferred that total is, which is basically 29 million, is the highest value. That is correct, but still the value doesn't looks good. So let's turn this off. It has to show only for the values, and we can customize this here. Oh, we need to adopt the value itself. All right. And click on OK. Now I understand. So the reason is because we have set up this to be highest value, which is this value. It is considering that. So let this to be 0, and this can be 29 million, right? So let's keep this to be 29 is the overall thing, but highest we can see it here only 5 lakhs here. So 1, 2, 3, 50 lakhs. So we can keep this as a 50 lakhs. So 50 0 0 0 0. Yeah, 50 lakh, which is a 5 million here, and click on OK. Now you should see a different color here, same as before. But we cannot able to apply this for the total because total has a huge number of values, so it will not look regular here. So this is the how we can able to use the custom formatting on this particular thing. Now let's assume that you want to highlight a custom thing like which we have discussed here. So the 29 million which is showing up here, which is actually a good one. Yeah, so if you want to change the color of this one, like if this is goes certain beyond certain limit, then it has to be green or it has to be red color. In that case, we need to create a measure for that. So let's assume that as Australia, we can filter it here as a sales territory group or a country to be Australia. So let's filter here this to be Australia. Now everything is showing up here for Australia. So let's keep a target. So as Australia has a 4.3 million as the highest total, then we can keep that if this goes beyond 3 million, it has to be positive. If this goes beyond 3 million, it has to be negative kind of thing. So in that case, so what you can do, we can create a measure now. So here, let's create a measure on the fact internet sales. I'll just give it a name here to be conditional color. Okay, let's give it a name, sales color. All right, so let's keep this one as a bit of if the sales value, which is total sales measure, is greater than or equal to 3 million, then it has to be positive. So this positive actually, actually we are going to use the good here. It's a good. If this is not, then it has to be bad. Right? So I'm just using up this one and click on hit enter. Say I just use a text here, good and bad. This actually will going to take the information from our theme here. So we don't need to mention any color here. Based on the theme, it is going to pick up that. That's actually a good thing because if you want to change the theme, then it's going to apply the same color here. So for example, if I just switch this to be, let's for now, let's keep this one. And then here on the card visuals on the format pane, we have the color and then FX icon. So click on the FX icon here. Either we can use this rules option, the total sales, if this is greater than or equal to 3 million and less than or equal to kind of thing, it has to be kind 29 million. Then I just want this to be positive color. I don't have a positive color here. So I need to pick any one color from here. Let's assume that this color. If this goes below to this one, if this is greater than or equal to minus 0, I mean minus 1, for example, and less than this value, 3 million. So I want this to be this color and click on OK here. All right, click on OK. So now you should see a different color for this one because it's showing up 9 million here. And this is a positive color. And if we select any year from this calendar year, then it will see the difference value. So 2017, we don't have any value. So I'm going to select here 2018. This should change the color now. It is changing the color here. For 2019, this also, yeah, it is 5 because I selected 2 years here. But if I just keep 2019, 2 million. But if I just only select 2020 here, now 2020, we have more than 3 million. So that's why it's showing up here in positive color. But now let's we change their theme here. I'm now using a different theme. And based on the theme, it's going to change the color for me. Oh, okay. If I just go here and customize the current theme, and here you see we have a negative, positive. Okay, this is not applying the color here. That's strange actually. Okay, this is now showing up in different color. Why it is not changing up here? Okay, this is the color here. Oh, sorry. I just use here the rules here. That's the reason. So actually here instead of rules, that's the one option we can do that. But instead of rules, if we change this here to field value, and from the field value, if I select the sales color measure, okay, selecting the sales color here and click on OK. Now this should change the color. Now it is showing up 2 million, which is in red color. And if I select this to be 2020, this should turn this to be green here. 4 million, that's correct. That's the reason. So actually, instead of using this hard code green and red, we can use this to be good and this has to be bad. If I click on commit now, the based on the theme, this is going to change the color for me. So I think the good here is to be dark blue in this theme. Not sure. Yeah, it is green actually, but for this one, 2019 is dark blue. Okay. If I go back to this view and click on the theme, customize the current theme. Okay, so positive is green and neutral is blue and negative is dark blue here. So let's change this to be different for now, just to test your theory. So it's now changing up here in orange, and if I select this 2020, it's now showing up in blue. So based on the theme, we can change the colors here. So that's a beautiful thing. We can do that. Okay, we have covered that. So we have the basic interaction and the bookmarks also. Okay, so we'll cover the bookmarks and we still need to go a long way. So let's close this one for now, and I'd like to open this into this one, the latest Power BI file. So let's open up here. There are new updates which is coming up in Power BI core visuals, and also you can see it here. The new added one is 100% stack area chart. So this also we can use that. And there are a lot of new updates on each and every visuals they are bringing up. So I just want to start to cover up one thing. But why this is still taking time to load this? Okay, while this is loading up, let's cover the other topics here. So we have enhanced the report. So there are certain things we need to keep in mind because a report has to be loaded fast, and there may be some reasons on our side, or it can be reasons for Power BI side itself. So generally, so while we are using up the report, showing up any data on the report, make sure that it has applied a lot of filters on that as per the business requirement. The reason is because the less you are going to display the data on the visuals, it's going to load fast for the user information here. So we need to keep the filters as per the business requirement, and we need to load only the required data, not even the number of rows. It has also the columns. So what are the columns they need to look into that particular graph? Like here, you can see it on this screen. So they are loading up only the required column, which is country, category name, product name, gross sales, and net sales. They're not adding up any other things on this part. And they have filters on the left-hand side and also the filter on the top on this part. So that is the one thing which you can. And the next thing here, the sorting of the visuals has to be clear. So every visual has to sort based on the requirement. Some visuals, they want to sort it by the process. If they have certain process from A, B, C, D kind of thing, they need to sort the visuals according to that. If they want to look into some value, then it has to go from time series January to December, for example. Or else if they want to look any kind of country specific value based on the sales number, then you have to sort this by the sales here, because that gives a clear picture for the user. But if you are using a time series information from January to December, and if you are sorting your value based on the sales value, then the sequence of the x-axis may not be the same. It will start by June 1st, December 2nd, and August to be last on that one. So it is not a clear picture. It has to be sorted from January to December here based on that. All right, let's look in feeling. Yeah, it is added here. And if I click on this visual for now and just open up this format pane, I'm just looking for one new enhancement on the visuals. Not sure if this is applicable yet for this one. All right, it's not here. So let me copy this visual on this page and change this to another graph, which is basically, it has to be line itself. Or else let's switch this to be clustered column chart. Okay. So I'm going to use here clustered column chart where we can see all the information here. And I've selected this information. Let me check if I have these preview features enabled or not. because whenever Power BI launches any new features, then it is in the preview features. We need to make sure that it is turned on itself. So clicking on this one preview feature. All right, everything is ticked here except this one. Not an issue. Click on this. Okay. All right, so let's check for another axis. It should be the y-axis, value, and title. If I'm not able to find this today, then I will share the description of a video which I had done previously. I will also show you that. Let me check here. I think it's on the data label and click on series and then this one. Yeah, exactly here itself. So you need to select here the data labels and for this visuals, or else if we have this information here, yeah, but yeah, here also, okay, even on the previous graph also we have this information, but let me delete the first one, I mean, the new one. Let's assume that we have this graph and let me zoom this graph here. So we have this look and feel decluttered here, right? So what I'm thinking here is like the difference value, I just want to make this as a label, not as a kind of separate bar itself. So we'll just keep current year and previous year and the difference percentage on this one. So for this, I just need to select here the data labels and the data labels category. Let me zoom here, data labels, and here select the sales same period last year. Okay, and then if you scroll down, then we have an option about value, which is the value which is showing up right now. And also we have an option about detail. So if you click on that one, we have an option to turn this on. And here we can add another measure. That's a beautiful thing here, with the new update on this one. So here this has to be, if I go to this one, I can add the difference of the sales period last year, measure from this to the detail section here. Now we should see this information also available here. You see this is showing up here 2.2 and minus 4.3, minus 0.5 million, everything is beautiful. So if you want to make the change in color, we can change that. And if you want to apply kind of conditional thing, if it is positive, then do this one, negative, do this one, then we also have an option here. So selecting this here, and this time I'd like to use the rules. This is greater than 0 value, then and less than any number. So this can be max. So here we have an option about we can set up minimum and maximum. And Power BI will beautifully detect the minimum and maximum value based on the scenario, and it will apply the color here. So if it is positive, then it has to be green. New rule, and if it is greater than minimum, and just type M or just keep the erase the 0, it will pick up automatically. And this has to be less than 0, then it has to be in red color or orange color. Yeah, I think we are good here. So this is has to be in numbers. Okay, and click on OK. So now it's see a color change here. This is showing up in green. Okay, this is showing up in green. That's strange. Okay, if I click on conditional formatting again, this has to be greater than 0. Okay, it is not changed here. Automatically converted here into numbers, and this has to be numbers, and this has to be minimum, and this has to be maximum, and here has to be minimum. Somehow it has got changed. This is how it has to be from 0 to maximum, and minimum to the 0, it has different color. And clicking on OK. Yeah, I think that is not applying up here for somehow. That's strange actually. Not again today. Yeah, it is automatically converting it into a different thing, which is not a good one. So let's change the color to be gradient itself, and the lowest has to be in this color and highest has to be in positive thing. Just in case, I'm just clicking on OK, just to make sure the color are applying here or not. So now we should see a color. Yeah, it is changing, showing up the color here. You can see the difference of the green, which is showing up here in different one. And I think here is the one is showing up here in red color, which is 0.m here. All right, so somehow this is not working. Maybe it's a bug, but that's actually working in my previous one. It's not working up here. But technically, that's how you can apply up here. But now we are showing up the difference here, which is minus 4.3 and this is minus 4.3. 2.2, this is 2.2. In that case, we don't need this additional column here. So we can remove this previous year difference from here. And now we'll see some space on that visuals. You see, it is now showing up here, one column for current year, another is for the previous, and here itself we can see the difference. Okay, 0.5. And here we see the down here, it's 2.2. Actually, it has to be reversed. But anyway, so we can just realign this here so that we can also show up here. Correct. So now we can see 2.8, and this is for current year, which is 0.5 less here. And if you want to show that value into another column, which has to be in the current one, then you can also use that option here. So that's what I want to show up here. We can also save space in order to use the multiple new options available on a core visual itself. All right, we have covered that. And now as we're talking about filtering and sorting, and also we can see the performance time tuning of this. I will also cover this here now. And finally, we can look into the bookmark options. I think those things are just good enough to cover that. All right, so on this one, on the optimize ribbon, we have an option about performance analyzer. If you click on that and open this one, then it's going to open up a new window. Let's assume that you have multiple visuals here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 visuals we have, and start the recording. And then if you just click here, refresh visuals, then it's going to give the information. There are certain visuals as loaded here. Every information is showing up here in milliseconds. If I just click on this one, sort this to be descending order, and you see 1.1900 means almost 2 seconds has taken up the visuals to load here. So what is that visual? So if I click on this one, it is actually this one, the table actually. That's strange. Okay, table has taken almost like 2 seconds to load. So in general practice, whatever visuals, if this loads less than 3 seconds is good. If something is loading up more than 3 seconds, then we need to look for optimization way. If it is a direct query mode, then it's a different case. But for the import mode, generally, it has to load between 3 to 5 seconds, not more than that. If it is loading more than that, then definitely there's an issue, and we'll look for that issue here. So in the performance analyzer, we are getting up multiple options. One is tax query. So the time between the visual sending its query and result being returned from that. So what does it mean here? So whenever you're loading up, adding up any visuals on any measures on a visual, so this Power BI will generate a statement, tax statement to get the data from the source. Here in this case, as everything is in import mode, the source is nothing but the Power BI storage mode itself, the storage engine itself. The formula engine will calculate this one. Basically, we have two engines, formula engine and storage engine in Power BI. So in the front end, which will actually called as a formula engine, we can say, it will generate a query and then it will send it to the storage engine, and from that it will get the data and show it here on the report. But what if you have a direct query? So in that case, it will directly go to this storage of the data source itself, which is a SQL server on-prem or Azure kind of thing. Then it will bring your data into this Power BI visual here. It's not going to look for the information on the storage engine, it will directly go to the source itself. So that's the part here. If this is taking more than 3 seconds, then definitely you need to look for that, why it is taking up the time. And the visual display, the way which is taking to load the data onto the visual. So it has also taken almost like half second. And other is nothing but as we have the multiple visuals on the page, so it is actually waiting for other visuals to load, and that's one of the reasons. So this doesn't matter actually, the other part. But if you have seen that the DAX query is actually taking more time, then you need to reconsider adding a measure or modifying the measure on that. Because we can achieve the same result in Power BI using a different DAX. So we need to try and modify the DAX in order to get the optimal performance. All right. The next thing here, which I want to highlight is few things, which is here. One is drill down and drill through. So let's say we have a year which is showing up on the matrix. And here, if you want to drill down, give the option to the user so that they can drill down the information like the year. And after that, they want to look for the information by, we have quarter. So we can click on the quarter here. And if you want to click on the month name, you can also click the month name. And also, if you want to drill down further by day, you can also click on the day here. So now you can see we have a plus sign added here. So you can just click on this plus sign. It will expand it by quarter. Oh, it's a month itself because that's a sequence, right? So year, month, and full date already we have added here. All right. Yeah, okay. Sum of calendar quarter, we don't need that here. It's just one. So year, month, and day. So if you expand any of the month here, then if, for example, February, then it's going to give me day-wise transaction information here. That's beautiful. Either I can use this plus sign based on the user. You can customize. They can click on and expand and collapse for this. And they still have another options on the visual itself. Every visual will see this option, which is click down to the drill down, and this is actually another next level, and this is basically expanding of this. So if I click on this one, then this will be enable the option to drill down. So whenever you click on that, then it's going to drill down another option here. So for example, if I this would be helpful if you are using a kind of visuals uh, here on this one. For example, let me also add up here to show you that option. But for now, let's see. You can see it is expanded here to this one. Okay, this is also applicable to the matrix, then doesn't need to. So what I actually want to say here is that if you enable this option down, then if you click on something else, then it will expand automatically on this visual. So here, if I just click on the August for this one, then it's going to open up the August and show up the value here. And now if I click on this up arrow and then click on the August here, then this is going to close up the August and show the value on that particular thing. All right, this is still the down arrow. So now this is going up the information. So this is actually one level down. So right now you have the information about year itself on this matrix. This is applicable to every visual, but now you directly want to jump to the next level, not year and month, directly want to look for the year month itself. You can just click on the double arrow, then this will directly jump into the month options. This is showing up here, month option, and this is actually going for, showing the information for all the year, not only for 2018 or 2019. This is actually showing for all the year because we're directly jumping to the next level. Okay, that's the one. And if I go up again, and here we have a drill down. So it will just expand every layer, every section of that. We don't need to manually expand that. It can expand automatically for all the sections, all the rows here. All right, this is for about drill down, which we are seeing up here. And we'll also show you the bookmark option. That's really powerful feature. And it's also tricky in some cases. The reason is because I will show you that also. Let's assume that this is the report, right? And everything showing up here neatly, perfectly, which is here. Now, so let's change the theme. This color doesn't look good. Okay, neutral color. Okay, this looks better. All right, so now on the view tab, we have a bookmark options on the top. So when you click on the bookmark, then we can get this option. So let's assume that this is the current state I want to keep. And then on the add option, you can click on the add button. It's going to add a bookmark here. And just double click on this one to rename this. So rename this has to be default mode, default state here. And on the three dot icon, we have multiple options here. We have option to update, rename, delete this, or group this one. And also we have a data display current. This is important. So what does it mean here? So all visuals are selected visuals. Either we can do this kind of stuff for selected visuals, or it can be for all the visuals on this page. So for me, this particular thing default state has to be for all the visuals. So let it be all the visuals. And this has to be current page or not. If you are into different page, if you use this option, then it will redirect to this page. And also we have a data and display. So how you want to keep the data here? So you want to keep the data in this mode, then also we can use this option. For now, I'll just use this here and then update here. Now, if I select anything on this slicer, for example, if I filter it to Canada on this one, so report is loading into Canada. Now, if I want to switch it back to the other mode, right now I know this is I have selected only Canada, I can select uncheck this one. But if I have multiple filters and apply something else, then if I directly don't want to go one by one filter and change the selections, instead of that, I can use the bookmark on the page to reset everything. So for that, we have an option about insert on the top. And here we have the buttons. And from the buttons, we can use the regular button and apply the action to be bookmark. Or we have a navigator, which we have about bookmark navigator. So when you click on that, it's going to open up this here. And as we have only one bookmark, it is loading up here, default state. So I'll just keep this here at the bottom of the page. So when the user click on this default state by clicking control, because I'm in a desktop, now it is removing all the filters on the slicer and showing up the value which was there previously. So let's try another one. So clicking on this 2019 here, and then let's select this to be Europe and Pacific. And this has to be only France and Germany. That's it. So now I have all the three selections. So if I click on the default state, then it's going to reset everything and showing up me for the default one. So that's one of the beautiful thing of this bookmark. Another thing here is like you want to keep only for Australia, for example, right? And everything, you don't want to make any changes here. And for that, you can just add a new bookmark and just give it a name here to be Australia. And then click here, no changes for the anything, and then click on update on this one. So if the user click here now for the default state, then everything will be removed. And now if they click on Australia, then it's going to filter automatically for predefined value of Australia here. That was a cool. So if like that, if you have a multiple filters you want to apply, you can also do that. So let's say that I just want to look for Australia in 2020. That's only year, 1 year. So within the same visuals, you want to update that. So in that case, you can either you want to use the everything on this page, or you can just click here, and then now you just need to update this for the Australia. So I'm clicking on this to update Australia and rename this to be Australia to be 2020. And now if I click on default state, everything is there. And if I click again on Australia 2020, now you see Australia 2020 is filtered here. So that's the one beautiful thing. Now, another thing here, if you want to keep any kind of default state for a particular case, let's say that if I click here on this thing for these two visuals itself, and now I'm selecting this to be 2019, and as well as I just want this to be for sales territory region, this can be another country, which can be like France, for example. So this is for the France and these two things. So you just want to apply the filter only for these two things. So here, if I click on add, and this can be just rename it here. This has to be AUS and for a France, and then click here. Instead of using all these things, let's click here selected visuals. So only these two selected visuals is going to apply here. So selected visuals, and then click on update. So click on update on this part. And then if I can see we have these three added here. If I click on default, then nothing is going to select on this one. And if I select Australia and France, now it is showing up the filter here, and still every value is getting changed here. The reason is because the filter, the slicer actually filtering the data on these things. Now you don't want this year selection to have an impact on these sales, right? So in that case, what you need to do, so we can select the slicer, and on the top ribbon, we have the format option, we have edit interaction. So when you click on that, by default, you will get two options. One is filter, another is none for every visual. So for this visual, by default, it will be turned on. So if you want to turn this off, you can just click on this option. So right now, it's going to apply any filter. It's not going to apply any filter on this year selection. And also, it is actually applied the sales territory also. Select the sales territory slicer and select this to be none. And also for the sales territory region, select this to be none. Now, finally, I should see the every value, which is 29 million, the overall value of our entire data set here. So again, you need to click on edit interaction to just go on this logo, this icons here. So now, whatever you're going to select here, this is not going to have any impact on that. Every bookmark, every selection on the slicer is going to give the same result. But if you are making any changes on this one, on the metrics or on the visuals, then this is going to have an impact on that. So for example, if I select here, why it is not selecting up here? Okay, this is selected here, that's the reason. Okay. Or if I select anything on this particular year, which is 2019, you see it is changing up the value on this slicer, on this card here. The reason is because we have just had this to be effect none for this slicer, not for the other visuals. So those are the just glimpse about the bookmark option here. And finally, I just want to tip on the two things, which is actually drill down and the tooltip here. So basically, we still have a lot of to cover on the bookmark side. I will try to add videos on that. You can just check it out the videos on this link on the video so that you can refer to the bookmark here. So bookmark is sometimes tricky. So working with multiple bookmarks at the same time. All right. So here, if I just mouse over here, if I for this one, something has happened for this particular visual. Anyway, so for example, if I look for this information, I can see this calendar year 2019 and same period last year value. But here, what if I want to get the data of region-wise information? So in that case, I can create a new page on this one. And here on the page setting, if I go to the format options and the page information, if I click on the canvas setting, here we have a type. By default, it will be 16:9. So now we have option about tooltip. So we can create a custom tooltip based on our requirement, and this will give you see the page is shrunken down to this level. It is hard to design in that way. So we have an option in the right bottom to increase the size here so that we can design peacefully here. So I'm going to add a kind of graph onto this one. So that is going to show me total sales by sales territory. Yeah, that's the thing. So now we have the sales territory. It has to be in this graph. That's what I usually prefer. Yeah. So now we have the total sales showing up here for everything. And let's align this to this one. And as we have set up this to be tooltip information, right? So let's give it a name here as a kind of sales by region. You can double click here so that we can get the edit option. So sales by region. And if I go to the page 1, and okay, I need to minimize this and reduce it to be 100%. Okay, this is here. We just want to filter to be year has to filter. So in that case, we need to add the year from the dim date into the page of this visual. So select on this visual. If I go to this one and then check for the canvas setting, this is the tooltip. That is correct. And if I look for the page information, the page type, okay. They have moved this to be on a different area. So here they have a page type to be tooltip. So we have set up this to be tooltip on this one. Usually this has to be standard itself. So here we have a show on tooltip. So this has to be add, and here I like to add this here calendar year. So based on the calendar year, this graph has to show. That's what I have mentioned here. And then if I mouse over here, if you want to add multiples also, then we can possible. So if I just realign this a bit and click on the blank space, and here if you want to add this by, for example, region, that's what we had at here. So sales territory group and sales territory region. And then if I go to this one, usually we need to hide this page because when you publish this into Power BI service, user cannot able to see this page. So if I go back to the page 1, and now if I mouse over on this part, instead of showing that previous screen, now I can able to see this here tooltip with the year and the value showing up here for Australia and France. Now we need to go back to the tooltip and enable the data label for that so that we can have a clear understanding about the value on that. So it's showing up this value. That's beautiful. And then 2019 is showing up this value. With the value, we are getting up this information here. And for 2020 also, it is showing up this value. All right. If I go to this one here, it's going to filter me with the Australia also, but I'm not sure it's going to work here. Let's convert this into a different graph for now. Only for now, let's convert this into another graph, which is the same graph showing up here. Anyway, so Australia, if I click here, is going to show me only for the Australia here because it's filtering the year as well as the country for this one. That's what we have mentioned on that. So this is for what we have done here is for the tooltip. So you can design a custom tool page. So for if you want to give an example of that, so we have a kind of employee master and you want to showcase an employee photo and their biodata, bio information like what is the name and address and date of birth for them, then you can build a tooltip page for them. So whenever we mouse over to the employee name, then it's going to show that tooltip with the employee photo and other things. That looks beautiful on that. Same for the product catalog also we can build on that. So let's duplicate this page here. And now this time, this has to be drilled through. So instead of the page, I just want to convert this page here to be drilled through. And let this be here, same option here. And after that also, I just want to change the page type to be regular because the drill through has to be regular page itself. So here, you can just realign this visual. And also I'd like to copy one card visuals from this one, which is the bottom one, to this page. We can just copy and paste visual from one page to another page. That's good. Yeah. So here I have just added some of the same settings here. Then these are the drill through options. If I go back to the first page and then right click on the Australia part, then I should get a new option here. Come on. Or else if I just right click on this part, oh, something has happened. Maybe because of my system here. Now it's getting up here. Okay. So if I right click here, I get the option about drill through. Previously it was not there. This is going to be the reference by the page name actually. So this is the page name. If I just change this to be page 2, for example, and if I go back to the first page and right click on this part, so I get this drill through option. Now you see it's going up here to be page 2 here. So click on the page 2, now this is going to filter 2019 and giving the value, passing the information onto that page. Yeah, now it's showing up here 2019 and only for this one. If you just want to know about what is the year it has filtered, let's convert this into a matrix one and add a year from that. You should see it is now giving up me only 2019, which is filtered from that particular thing here. If I go back to the first page again, and from the bottom one, this is Australia also filtered here. If I right click on this part and then go to drill through and page 2 here, then it's going to pass me the year as well as Australia here. So now you see it is showing up here year 2020 and 2019 because the bottom top is not based on year, and this is Australia here. That's the beautiful thing. Now if I scroll down onto this page, so nothing is applied here. So we have an option about drill through when the year is used as a category or summarized value. So generally category is the one x-axis and y-axis. Then only it has to apply. So that's beautifully aligned here. So these are the things which I just want to cover you. I hope I have covered a lot of things today. If you are not able to capture the thing today, then recording is available. You can just pause the recording and rewatch the recording as whenever you are possible. And then you try it out by yourself so that you can get clear understanding how these things work really. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be here for another 1 or 2 minutes.